Imagine, you could be anything you wanted. Your will is the law of the universe. Obviously, you would throw a few parties, really stretch it out, go crazy, and mess things up for the laughs of it. The universe is your experience machine, so do whatever you like. So you continue
to adventure endlessly in the exuberant experience.
After a while, however, you find that you've run out of things to do. At least, you want something radically different. So you try and plan to surprise yourself. But as an omnipotent being, this is kind of hard. The curse of being all-knowing and omnipotent is, of course, despite the supreme bliss, it's hard to get a true kick out of anything. You lack the element of surprise. Surprise, as reaction, needs duality, but you are one. There is another option. You can create the illusion of splitting. From the absolute one, you can conceive of the relative two. By contrast of your endless revealing as infinite, you conceive of a finite concealment as man. Now at first, you only may dare to go into the depths of time and space for a few hours. The experience is intense, of course. The contrast of transitioning from immortality to mortality would be quite ecstatic. Now your courage grows stronger the more experienced you are, and your adventures go on to wilder and wilder dreams. You go on more and more adventures where you forget who you are until you find yourself right here, right now, as a human, watching pixels that form an image and vibrations that form a sound. Reality, then, viewed through this lens, is a game of hide and seek, where you are both the hider and the seeker, playing for eternity. The parallels between this ancient creation myth and our dream of ultimate virtual reality are drawn by the following. Naturally, human beings are not like gods, but VR as a powerful illusion comes with the power to create and control worlds, to formulate our thoughts and actualize our designs. As Jaron Lanier put it in his book, VR will, more than any other medium, show us who we are. We will encounter our desires, our wills, as expressed through the worlds that we create. In 1647, René Descartes published Meditations. In his text, Descartes outlines the idea of a potential evil deceiver, a demon that could alter his impressions of the external world. He writes that he cannot know whether what he sees and perceives is real, or if it is a demon that is fooling him. When this is discussed philosophically today, the imagery of an evil deceiver takes the form of a potential scenario where our brains are encapsulated in a vat. We know that our perception of reality is sensory, impressions interpreted by the brain. We can then imagine the brain in a vat, as the philosopher Gilbert Harman describes it, a brain disconnected from its body, yet being fed electrical pulses that simulate sensory impressions. This has been the theme of several popular films, such as The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is?
This depicts both an evil deceiver in the form of the AI and the imprisonment of the human psyche. Conceptually, Harman's reformulation of the demon analogy to the brain in a vat paves the way for our discussion of VR. The thought experiment is this. If you had a machine that could give you any experience that you ever wanted for the rest of your life, would you use it? Would you plug in? We are now close to the idea of the brain in a vat, but yet the perspective is shifting. In this case, we would not be trapped in a false reality against our will, but willingly living in it. In answering to it, we answer to whether we value truth as something that is caused by sensory impressions only, or if authenticity and reality has a value inherently, despite the suffering that comes along with it. Concern for authenticity or realness is not the only possible motive one may have to decline. For example, many would prefer not to plug into the machine, not necessarily because they would really care for truth and simply prefer the world they have accustomed themselves to. If you were told that your life up to now had been such an illusion, would you then like to wake up? These problems turn on a new fascinating light, where in the technology that we have today has the capability of actualizing ancient concepts in a manner that is quite literal. All sorts of experience machines are being created today, and although we are still quite far from escapism into VR as a societal issue, the time to think on how it may affect us is ever present. To read more on VR philosophy, you can head to matrice.no.
Hey, what's up, gamers? Looking at the rate of exponential advancement of brain-to-computer interfaces within the recent years, I predict that within the next 20-30 years, we will no longer use mouse and keyboards to interface with the internet, but rather through simple thought we will control our browsers. Today, however, we still rely on mouse and keyboard, but that doesn't mean we can't browse the World Wide Web at blazing speeds. Today we are looking at Brave, a free, lightweight, battery-saving browser that brings back true privacy to your browsing experience. Now this thing is an epic product for a few reasons. Number 1. It imports all of your bookmarks from your current browser with one click. Nice. Number 2. It runs its own opt-in, privacy-respecting ad network, which doesn't track your behavior or exploit your data, and rewards you for viewing ads if you choose to opt in. Sweet. And number 3, get this, it blocks trackers, third-party advertisements, phishing attempts and malware all by default. These functions are all out of the box, so just by downloading you're already one step ahead of the dark algorithmic system trackers that want your data. And don't forget, always hold fast to the present. Every situation, indeed every moment, is of infinite value, for it is the representative of a whole eternity. Okay, now back to browsing.
Last week I asked you, what are some ways an evil corporation may use VR to control the mind? What are some ways a good corporation may use VR to free the mind? Omega O000 said, quote, "The term bad brings morals into play, but let's classify bad as a description of an entity that means to hurt other entities. Let's say that this company were to use this free realm that they create as a way to torture those who oppose it. Overstimulation could be a very demonic way to torture people in VR. A series of loud noises, flashing colors, and screen effects repeated over and over could be a torturous thing inflicted on a person. This would be considered a punishment for bad employees of this corporation, or just a way to make people have random sensory overload attacks. Personally, I think VR is the next step in entertainment, as well as a tool for simulation and learning. But to free people, and in this case free their minds, this company would have to progress enough in VR where we lose our sense of boundaries and lose ourselves inside of this simulation. Anything would be possible in this world, and free expression, free speech, and free creation. To fully free someone, they must lose all confines of their world, and in this situation, one could be truly free. With enough funding, of course. Thank you for your answers. This week's question: